Oh yeah, this is where you're at in the season, right? Not a lot of room at the top of the mountain, at the peak, and these guys exemplify that. You know, a lot of answers on the perimeter and the wideout game. Two big time running backs, three tight ends that rotate in, and a quarterback that's playing really well right now. So no doubt about it. Challenge on vertically, challenge horizontally, and good running game as well. So it is.
Coach, I could be wrong, but I feel like watching college football over the years, I've watched everybody try to keep everything in front of them, try to play a lot of space off the wide receivers. You guys are really, really aggressive on the defensive side of the football. What does being an aggressive defensive coordinator mean to you, and why do you go about it the way you do?
Just trust in the players. It's just the way we've kind of grown into that over the last year and a half, and really that's what got us here. You know, being aggressive, being on body as much as we can, changing some of the looks up, and so it's hard at this stage of the season to do anything else. You know, so that's our focus. That's who we are. That's part of our DNA, and we have to challenge.
From Cincinnati, Alum, Ward Tutter, Zach Taylor, and your time in Cincinnati.
Yes, sir.
What's your relationship like working with Zach? What do you remember about your time coaching with him?
Just learned a lot. Learned a lot that prepared me for this moment and this journey. You know, and I've shared that with the players. Just the succession of the playoffs, and then being in this format, and how quickly you have to turn around. Well, I believed in my heart. I believed it in my heart then. He talks about it all the time. Trust without knowing. And I had faith and I trusted, without knowing how this would turn out. And as it turns out, I think we've won 13 in a row. Everybody's rallied around him. Just the way he operates every day. He's a selfless leader. He's a servant leader. He empowers his employees, his staff. He empowers the team. Chooses an incredible message each week, not just for the opponent, but for life, that you can learn from. And I think that's what endures. And to me, like I said, that's why we are where we are, because he's a tremendous leader.
Talking about Ohio State, they present a lot of challenges. What are some that keep you up at night?
Where do you want to start? Oh, it's great football, right? Like, this is where we're at, and whether you look at their schedule and who they've played and who they've beaten, or, I was just talking to our guys, like, if you said in June, that we were going to beat A&M, Florida State, USC, Georgia, Penn State, think about that, what we've created in college football. Like, that's really awesome. And the game is stronger than it ever has been. And that's what we're here, that's what we're trying to defend right now in Ohio State. So if you try to take the slot away, you got 4 and 17 on the perimeter. If you're light box, they're big and strong enough to run it inside. If you leave the tight ends alone, it's a tough one-on-one matchup. So there's a reason why they score like they do. I think the biggest change that I see is I don't think they're in a rush. I think they're really doing a great job of getting into the correct play at the right time, and that's a credit to the coaches and the leadership that Ryan has provided them. So again, just hats off to them, and that's what we're getting ready for. But there's a lot that keeps me up right now.
Now, it was kind of uncharted territory to play 16 games
Yeah.
this season. How do you guys manage it, and you plan for it early? And have you seen the toll on your team at this point?
Yeah, I think obviously it's been harder to manage because we have so many guys that are out. It's not like we're gaining guys back. So we're a little bit lighter there in terms of our depth. But Coach Freeman does an unbelievable job just using the sports science to, plot the course. And not every week's the same. And they can really determine the load that players are taking, the hits that players are taking, and then how to manage it. And I think Coach Freeman has done a brilliant job along with our sports science group, and that's the only way to get through it. I think what we've learned during this this journey is how deep you have to be in college football right now to come here, to get to this point. And so we've had a lot of guys step up, or we're not where we are right now. Yeah, I mean, Ohio State's offense is prolific. I think anybody can see that. In terms of our defense has to keep us in the game, we're complementary football. That's what we're built on. It takes all three phases. Everybody, looked at, I can't remember what A&M scored. Was it 13 or something early in the year? But everybody forgets that our offense had that drive at the end. Everybody forgets that. We needed them to do that. And everybody forgets that we had a lot of time to fix things against Georgia because our offense held the ball, or that special teams stole a possession or blocked a punt or pressured a punt. So it's complementary football. That's the way we're built. And no unit is different than the others. We got to do it together. Yeah.
What's it like to have him, and what is he kind of bringing?
It's a blessing. I've grown with Jack. Jack, obviously, all 3 years that I've been here has been here, and he's just a blessing to coach. He's a tremendous human being. He's a great leader. He's playing his best football right now, and really, that's how you get to these games. You have a lot of guys like Jack Kaiser on the field that can make those decisions, get you out of problems on the grass, and just blessed and honored to have the opportunity to coach Jack Kaiser.
I know your style's quite man press. You haven't played anyone has Ohio State's receivers. I'm not asking you to give up the game plan, obviously, but different beats have changed dramatically from what you've done.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, we got to dance with the date that got us here. Like at the end of the day, it is who we are. It's part of our DNA. We understand the challenge, but we also can't abort and change course radically at this stage. But they are. I mean, you've already said how talented they are.
Now, when you have the success that you've had, look, you've coached in college, you coached in the NFL, you know your name is going to be thrown about when job openings come up. Is the NFL, return to the NFL, anything you would consider after this year?
I think the biggest thing right now is just it's humbling that your name is mentioned because of team success or the success of our defense. It's a reflection of Mike Mickens or Max Bulla, Al Washington, all of those things. But at the end of the day, this is not the time or place. This is about the kids. There's always time to reflect on all that after the season. The biggest thing for us right now is just understanding the enormity of this game. And as I said to the players, really when this thing started, it's really hard. Like, we played Indiana, the game finished. I'm looking at Sarah back here, but she made me do the media afterward. And so I got home at 1 o'clock, but I wasn't going to change my schedule the next day. And I told the players why. I was in there at 7:30 because how grateful that I am for this opportunity. And I don't want anything. And anybody that's out there that doesn't understand that, I probably don't want to be a partner with. There is nothing that's more important than our players and our performance in this opportunity. Because, look, there's a lot of teams that they hit an upright and they're not here. They didn't get in. They had a quarterback injured. They didn't get rated high enough to be in, but they were right on the cusp. You know what I'm saying? So, to me, that's our focus, and all of that other stuff we'll deal with in the future. Right now, we got to concentrate on winning today and having a great Thursday practice in our mind today. Oh, it's a good question. I don't know. Chip and I go way back. Obviously, Ryan worked for me at Temple, and I'm so happy for him and Nina and just the job that he's done, and Chip and I, Chip, when Chip was in the NFL, he would come visit us at Miami and share ideas. But I don't think I've ever coached against Chip. But we'll go way back to, recruiting in New England, those circles. But just an incredible amount of respect for Chip Kelly.
Sorry, what's kind of your assessment as you look at the job he's done, kind of coordinating that
Amazing.
offense?
Amazing job. Everybody, everybody's fast to, to say, players, but it's one thing to have talented players, but it's how they're utilizing them and getting the most out of each one of those talents. And I'm talking all the way through the skill positions on the offense. So they've done a great job of creating schemes and getting in the right call against certain looks, and that's a credit to the offensive staff led by Chip and obviously Ryan. Well, it's a credit to them, right? And it's not just that; it's the redshirt freshmen. I've said a couple times to Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy, because they've done the games the last couple of weeks. I've said to them, there's times we'll be in a staff meeting, and I'll stop the tape, and there'll be 5 freshmen or redshirt freshmen around the ball, And so somewhere along this journey, we've gotten to be very young, but I wouldn't say it's caused us any decrease in performance, and that's what's really important. Yes, those guys had to study and get caught up quickly. Bryce Young, Kingston, Leonard Moore. But the standard is the standard at Notre Dame. And when you play defense at Notre Dame, and we're not moving that line. And if you're good enough to join that line or rise above that line, then you're welcomed with all arms. And those guys have all answered that call right now. Yeah. I feel badly that Ryan has took some of the criticism because, when Ryan, I'm going to tell you a quick story about Ryan Day. So Ryan comes on his interview, and basically everything that he owned was in a duffel bag. So people that said, he had it easy, and that's all nonsense. He worked his ass off. He rose above some hardships, some tragedy, worked his way, from Temple to BC, back to Temple, and then into the NFL. And it wasn't going great at one point. I think they got let go, and then he ends up at Iowa State, and the rest is history. And so I couldn't be more happy for anybody because of his work ethic and what he's become. So all the critics, at the end of the day, what is he? He's a great coach. He's a tremendous father. He's a great husband, and he's a leader of men. So I'm happy for him. I really am. And we both want the same thing right now, and that's competition. That's where we're at. So I just wish him the best, and obviously hope our guys play our best, and that's my job. Just every piece of it. I think the quarterback is playing really well. They're hitting on their downfield shots. They're creating their first down efficiency, I think, is really improved. They're not in a lot of third and longers. They're just operating at a really, really high level. They're running the ball well. The running backs are great competitors. Quarterbacks making good decisions. Tight ends, are really doing a nice job. And then obviously the vertical threats, and whether it was Oregon, Texas, Tennessee, like all those games, they really played at a high level.
You talk about Ryan Danger. It's crazy thing. It's been 10 years since you were last in Miami. What have the last 10 years been like for you as you're on the stage, overseeing one of the best defenses?
Yeah, I think.
How's that been for you?
Again, I think. Hey, Sean. I said last week, because that was obviously the prevailing question last week, and all of those experiences make you who you are, So when God closed that door for us, then I went on a different journey, and I learned a lot on that journey, and that's what's prepared me for this, and I think that's what I can share with our team and our defense and individual players. And it's a blessing to be here. It's a blessing to coach at Notre Dame and to represent the university and have this honor of playing in this game. And but I've learned a lot on that journey since then. And I've said this, I said this to Andrea maybe a month ago now. I said, I wish Mario the best. Like, I think he's the right guy at the right place, at the right time for Miami, and I know he'll get it done.
Does it need to be a rock fight like Michigan?
Again, we have to do what we need to do to win the game, and I think what we learned last week is it wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect. But when you scratch and claw and you hang in there and you give yourself a chance to win, sometimes great things happen, So I think we're beyond the stage of thinking it's going to be perfect. They're really good. They're going to make plays. There's a certain way we want to conduct the game. Obviously, we're not going to share that with you, but we'll see. We'll see how the game evolves. 9 days is a long time to get ready for somebody, so maybe there'll be different things that we haven't seen yet. But I just think we have to adapt and adjust as the game goes here.
What has surprised you about Drake Bowman and his rise into 35
Can you just repeat the second part of that?
and his rise into a 35 defense?
Yeah. Drake Bowman is a warrior. He loves football. He's an athlete. He's an athlete first, who's in a linebacker body. Like he was a prolific baseball player. Great athlete in high school. Hand-eye coordination, instincts, FBI, football intellect, really, really high. Cares. We call it the give a S factor. It's high with him. Like cares. Can play physical, athletic enough to win on the perimeter, big enough to take on guards inside, plays well with his hands. I can't say enough about his growth and the development that not just Max Bulla, but the linebackers in general. They're so cohesive that they help each other grow. And he's done a tremendous job, and it just couldn't be more proud and really thankful that he's on our side, because he's that kind of player.
Now, the closing speed that some of the guys in the secondary are able to play with, some of that I'm sure comes from natural ability, God-given talent. Is some of it also a coaching and play style, and the way you want them to attack?
I think you have to, especially the space tackles. There's a certain way that you'd have to drill it. And that's the difference between what you're saying. Like, you hear a lot, he made a play. When you make plays consistently, that's your culture. And what I mean by that is, if you turn on the tape and Leonard Moore closes in space, and JC, who's just gotten here, 9 months ago, closes in space to make a tackle, and the linebackers do the same thing, then that's part of your culture. And I think they do a really good job of understanding leverage and being confident. Because if you're not confident, you're gonna spread your feet, you're gonna break down and leave space, and you can't leave space. whether it's 4, 2, 17. If you leave space with these guys, you got an issue. I think that's a credit to those guys buying into the techniques.
I don't know if you're aware of this game, but I think Ohio State has scored 42-0 in the first quarter. You're going to come from a long run. How important is it for you guys to kind of limit them in the first quarter and get off to a good start?
I think you always want to start fast. I don't think there's a coach out there that wouldn't say that. But I would say more than anything, you have to adjust and you have to play with poise because it's a long game. And I think what we did well, and again, I thought Marcus at halftime was awesome last week because it wasn't perfect last week. It wasn't pretty, to be honest with you. And our guys settled in, and the defense ended up with a 3-and-out and 4-and-out, and that ended up being the only 7 plays we defended in the third quarter. That allowed us to get back in the game. So we have to start faster this week against Ohio State than we did on defense than we did last week. But it is important. I think what's more important is to play with poise, adjust, fix some things as you go, and just know that it's going to be a long journey.
Yeah, Coach, when I went back and watched you guys last shot, I think I realized you replaced like 9 or 10 starters from a year ago that graduated or went on to the NFL. How did you guys manage to get better having to replace so many veteran football players?
I think it's a credit to our leadership, obviously Coach Freeman's program, and just the buy-in. It's an honor to coach these kids. They want to do what you ask them to do, but you never have to ask them to do it full speed. You never have to ask them to give everything they have because that's part of their DNA. And that's the beauty of coaching at Notre Dame, right? So I have the honor of saying, okay, guys, this is the plan. But then they're like, okay, coach, we got it from here. And that's the beauty of it. The leadership in the room, the leadership up the middle has been awesome, the linebackers and safeties. And there's so much credit has to go to the players and how they react on game day.
Is there something there that you can find and try to replicate moving forward? I mean, obviously you've had decades of experience. How do you replicate that?
Well, it's part of the culture, right? So there's certain systems in place that there's a standard there, and it starts to get handed down. It's not me up in front of the room anymore. It's them in the locker room. It's them when they're by themselves on the practice field. It's them saying, no, that's not how we do it. Think about doing this next time. So, no, I think that's culture is the only thing that sustains this time of year. And I could say the same thing about your fundamentals, right? Like, if things aren't going well, and trust me, at some point, Monday night, things are not going to go well. Do you play with poise? Do you get back to your fundamentals? Or does it come off the rails? And we got to really, really, one play, one life. Stay in the moment. Don't worry about the next play. Don't worry about the last play. Just focus on this one right here. Hi. Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think a lot of it has to do with how the game unfolds. But there's certain things, and they know there's certain things that we feel like we have to take away, and we know there's certain things that they think that they can, make hay on, that they can exploit. And so we're trying to negate ours and exploit theirs, and they're trying to do the same thing. So we'll see how the game unfolds. But this is the beauty of where we're at. And I want the players to enjoy the battle, enjoy the competition, and know that it's not going to be easy. And it's going to be all day. It's going to take all day and everyone, and you just got to find a way.
Defensive backs, you have stars back there, right? For years, been a contributor with the Notre Dame defensive back. But this year you have unsung heroes. Christian
Yeah.
the non-shooter who has stepped up. What has it meant to have those younger guys learning from those older guys and those older teams?
Well, it means a lot. I think it starts with Coach Mickens. His undying commitment, relentless commitment to improve each of them as individuals. I've said this before, but Coach Mickens' office is right next to mine. And if I'm watching tape or on a game plan, I hear him talking. And then I get up and go get a coffee or something, and he's got 2 or 3 guys in there, and they're watching third down or they're watching the red zone. And I can give you examples. Just I think about the back shoulder fades versus Indiana and how that was a focus this week and how we played them so well. And just every week it's something different, and because there's different challenges. So it starts with Coach Mick, right? And then you have the leadership, with Xavier and Ben Morrison before he got hurt, and then the welcoming into that position group, by those guys, and then the confidence that those guys have to step up and make a play. But Christian Gray, are we here without Christian Gray? USC last week, probably no. Are we here without Leonard Moore stepping up? No, absolutely not. That was a hard week. We got bad news on Ben, and we lost one to the portal. So that was a tough week going into Louisville, and that young man answered the call, and the rest is history. And but it's not as simple as that, right? Because he was ready for his opportunity. Like, just think about that. And Louisville's wide receivers were good, and he stepped up and did a great job. So my hat's off to that group and the way they nurture each other and improve each other, and it's going to be a great challenge for them Monday night. Thank you.
I wanted to talk real quick about the Sugar Bowl, and you guys had a defensive masterclass against Georgia, and obviously they had a backup quarterback, Gunnar Stockton, but you were able to slow them down like Texas could in that second half of the SEC championship. Why is that?
Oh, I mean, I think our kids executed really well. Obviously, we gave up some explosives in that game, but we offset that with some turnovers, which is really important in a game like this. I thought we tackled well on the perimeter, and we weren't fighting the battle on all fronts. We had the run game. We were doing pretty good against the run game, so it wasn't like we were battling the run game, having an issue in the slot, having an issue at X. So what? You can't solve everything, and you got to limit, your issues. And I thought we did a good job of doing that in that game. Well, I think he works really hard at it. He's not conflicted at all. It's not that he, wants to call the plays one day, and then the next play wants to be the leader of the organization. Like, he is the leader of the organization, and we are all held to his account. And more importantly, it propels us to want to be our best version for him and for the players. And I think he's done a masterful job of creating a culture. It's one of the most overused phrases in sport. It's one of the most evasive things to put your finger on. He's got a great pulse of it. He's established a great culture, whether you're in nutrition, you're in the weight room, you're on offense, defense, special teams. He's involved in every aspect. He's selfless. He makes you want to be your best version. And I can't stress to you enough how blessed we are to work with him, and the fact that he empowers us to be our best. I think Marcus is one of the most consistent humans I've ever been around. And when you think about being that in the backdrop of Notre Dame, that's the most impressive part of him, in my opinion, because the stress is huge. If he at all felt the stress or displaced it after NIU, we're not here right now. He shouldered it. He started with himself, asked us all to reflect on what we need to do better, and more importantly, plotted a course. And I think there's a lot of leaders that fall short on that last part, because it's easy to get angry. It's easy to hold people accountable. It's easy to put up the screen and say, we got to do this better. But then you got to plot a course. And he plotted a course for us that everybody could have a piece of, have a hand in. And one win. And again, I think I said it to you, Andrea. Never been more stressed than going into that Purdue game, because we didn't know what we had at that point. We felt really good after A&M, but it was so demoralizing. We didn't know what we had, and then the kids showed us what we had. And so 1 win, 2 wins, Louisville at home, catch fire, and just never let go of that little piece. So I think he deserves every credit, every accolade. It's one of the best examples of human spirit that I've witnessed. Number one, he's my go-to guy on game day coverage-wise, so we're always talking about, all right, Mick, where are we going on the next third and 3 to 6? Where are we going on the next, whatever the distance is? What do you like on early downs? That kind of thing. So I think he's got a great, I think that's where it starts, right? Because, he has a great idea and a big picture concept of how we need to conduct a game and what changes we need to make. I think he's got an excellent relationship and rapport with the players, but he's not their friend. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? They respect him. They want to play hard for him. He's their leader. He's their alpha in a lot of ways, and he's not afraid to make an investment in time. Time's one of the most overlooked assets that you can give a player, and he's constantly committing time to their growth, to their development, and to make sure they see the game really fast on game day.
Been the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame for the last 3 years. Hopefully the 4th year for Notre Dame's sake, but how would you encapsulate those 3 years of coordinator at Notre Dame?
Well, this was the goal. I told Coach Freeman when we came, this is the goal, and obviously the job's not finished yet. This is a big one coming up, and there's no one that's satisfied. There's no one that came here and said, we want to get to this game and that's it, or we just want to win 13 in a row. That's not it. So our whole focus is on getting better. But when I came here, I didn't know Mike Mickens. I didn't know Al Washington. I didn't know Max Bulla. But I believed in Coach Freeman. I believed in his program, his values. I believed in Notre Dame and what it represents, and I felt like that it was a great match for me. So I'm just excited to have this opportunity and coach the next 72 hours or whatever, however many hours that we have left here. Get ready for the game.
Notre Dame and for college football for this program to win another national championship, considering people have questioned whether Notre Dame could win a championship in the modern era? And the second one, just looking at the matchup, how much did you study Michigan tape? Because it seems like there's some similarities in the way that they play physical and aggressive, the way they do.
Well, I mean, I think there's an expectation, to answer your first question, is that we want to be in this conversation. We want to be in the playoffs. And, you have to get in the tournament to have a chance. And so we have to build our team accordingly. We have to understand the type of depth that we have to have. And I said it, when we were 1-1, we have the right leader at the right time, and to build that type of program. And I think there's always going to be naysayers, Andrea. I think there's always going to be detractors. But I think what doesn't get enough credit is that, how many kids that we have that are graduates or in graduate programs, how well our kids do in school, the commitment that Coach Freeman's made to develop them as people. And that, I think that's I said this last week because someone asked me about Coach Paterno. I think that's the secret sauce with Coach Freeman. He spends so much time developing the person, developing a culture where kids can succeed in every facet of life, that it bleeds over to the field. And so, no, I think this is where we want to be. We want to be in that conversation. In terms of studying Michigan, there's several games. You're studying every single game this time of year. We just have to make sure we're not over-studying, because I think they've plotted a little bit different course since that game. And so we just have to have an idea of who are they now versus who they were versus Michigan, or maybe who they were versus Oregon the first time. But we take all of that into account. I'm here to serve Coach Freeman, and I've said it countless times. He is the leader. He's got a great idea of what he wants the program to look like, and what he has around him is a lot of unselfish coaches that will do anything they can on any given day to give him what he wants. And I think that's really, when you have, and now, from Jack to Pete to Coach Freeman to Mike, Marty, and myself, to the position coaches, to the leadership in the locker room, you have alignment. And when you have alignment on every level, that's when you have strength. And that's why, I know Andrea left, but that's why I think we're built for the, we're built to endure. We're not built for, to be a one-hit wonder. So if Coach ever wants to run something by me, that's great. If he's opening up the table for ideas, that's great. Other than that, my job is to work as hard as I can every day to give him what he needs on the defense, and then collectively how to develop players.
Coach, there was so much made of Texas limiting Jeremiah Smith to one catch for 3 yards, but the other two receivers had it. So, I mean, how do you approach that challenge when you know all three of them can get you?
Tough.
I mean, and then what's the answer?
Yeah. Well, I can't give you the answer, but I can just agree with you that, it is a great challenge, and if you do that, you do what they do. You might do it at the peril of allowing the other two to have an enormous game, or allowing the two running backs to have an enormous game. So you got to pick and choose. You got to really study to see when you can take chances and when you can't, and it's tough. I mean, that's why we're here. That's why, we are where we are, and they are where they are, and we got to find ways to slow them down. Oh yeah, let's go. No, yeah. Now we're talking. No, man, like, I still go back there every summer. Like, some people go on trips, some people go take vacations, some people go to Europe. I go to New Jersey. That's it, man. Leave me alone. People see me with my cigar on the boardwalk, and, that's it. Like, I love golf, but I love hitting balls and having a cigar. Like, that's summer for me in my mind, and Jersey is an incredible place, and where I grew up, I still have all my family there. just unbelievable place to grow up, to raise kids, obviously to visit, and there's a toughness to it. You know, there's a competitiveness to it. You know, and my mom and dad grew up in Jersey City, you know, and there's a toughness to it, and you got to rise above, you know, and so I don't think I am where I am. I don't think I've made the journey without being raised there, going to Red Bank Catholic High School, listening to Bruce Springsteen. Like, it's all part of it, man. Like, that's who we are. That's where we're from. And John Bon Jovi. You know, I mean, I can keep going on, but the guys back home will know what I'm talking about. Just good times, just keeping it simple with people and cooking some food and just relaxing and, you know, and enjoying each other's company. That's how I feel when I think of New Jersey.
In the NFL, you know, a lot is made about how the postseason is different from the regular season. Going through this experience, how has the college football postseason been different?
Well, excuse me. I feel like we've been in the postseason since week 3. So, no, I think when you think about, just think about since our Army game, right? This is our 5th road game in a row. Our 5th out of 6th, right? Is that true? 5 out of 6. So you have to pack your bags now to go win a championship. You know, like you got to go set up camp at the hotel, and you can't have bad morale, and you can't have guys saying, "Oh, we're tired," or "We got to go to media day again." No, you got to be grateful for it. You got to be grateful for the whole thing. You can't just be grateful for the game. You got to be grateful for the whole thing, and know that, okay, we're having this meeting. Well, this is like being in our facility on a Thursday. That's our mentality. We go to a different stadium and have a walkthrough, and so those are all the things that you have to experience. And I think once you experience that, you can carry that forward. And I think that's really going to help us moving forward in the future.
Okay, Coach Golden will be back in 90 seconds. We're just grabbing him over here for 1 second.
Okay.
We'll be seen. We'll be right back.
Thanks, guys.
Give you a chance to stretch your legs for a second.
Especially in that unit, it's something
I'm sorry, guys.
Your old player came hard about this.
Uh-oh.
He made the transition early in his career. How hard is it to teach boundary field? How hard is it for those corners to be able to play both boundary field? What is the challenge there?
Oh, I mean, I think, we have a certain profile that we look for in the boundary and maybe a little bit different profile for the field. But the good ones can do both, and Cam obviously can do both, but if you can have that length and that physical presence into the boundary, it really is an asset to your program, because a lot of times that's the quickest throw. That's the easiest throw. Not the easiest throw, but it's if you give the quarterback the read he wants, the ball can get there in a hurry, whether it's a slant, a glance, or a fade over there. So, you have to be, long over there, and then at the same time, you have to be physical enough to show up in the run over there. And I think that's where Leonard has done a good job. And, that's the one thing, when Cam came back, if you're talking about Cam, we challenged him on a couple of things. He said, okay, now coach me. What can I get better at? And Cam got so much better at being a physical presence in the run game. And I hope, I hope he feels like we helped him develop, that part of the game because he just got so much better his last 9 months in terms of using his hands, beating blocks, showing up in the run game, and being more physical, in terms of his jams. I just couldn't hear you. I'm sorry, it's just really loud.
What about Will Howard's game makes him a unique challenge?
Oh, no, I think Will is playing really good right now. He's making good decisions with the football. He's distributing the football. I think he's using his, he's using his weapons really well. I think he's playing at a high level, and obviously it's the confluence of all that is coming together right now that we have to try to pull apart, that we have to try to defend, and that's what is making them formidable right now. It's skill, it's running back, it's tight end. The O-line's playing well. They've overcome some injuries there, and Will's pulling the trigger for them. So we have to do a great job combating that. Did that answer your question? Okay. Yeah, I think, first of all, Max does a great job with the linebackers, but Max can't always be with them, and that's where Jack takes over, whether it's in the locker room or calling a quick 20-minute film session. Hey, let's watch this. Let's watch the red zone. Let's watch this. Let's take a look at this. I think that's where Jack has been masterful. It's easy for guys when they get older to say, well, you're just a freshman. That's not Jack. Jack has embraced those guys. And I don't know if we would be here if he didn't embrace those guys, if he didn't bring Jaden along, if he didn't bring Drake Bowen along and really stay persistent with Jalen Sneed. Because Jalen, you can argue, is playing as good as anybody right now in our defense. So I think a lot of that goes back to Jack, his leadership. He is a Notre Dame icon. He represents everything that we want to represent in the classroom, in the community, on the football field. Everything that he's experienced right now is really well deserved, and I know he's been a blessing in my life. Yeah, I think, first of all, I think they did a really good job. I think, but if you can overcommit, and if you overcommit to one guy, then then Tate has a big game, or two has a big game, or the running backs have a big game. So again, we're just going to have to pick and choose how we want to defend and when we want to take chances or be aggressive. But it is a formidable group, and but no, we try to learn a little bit from each opponent they play, but at the end of the day, we are who we are, and we have to be our best, play our best.
This has been the longest college football season ever for this expanded playoff. Does that kind of affect how you coach these guys fresh?
Yeah, I think, Coach, you're making me smile because we were at practice earlier in the week and we introduced our spring weight room interns. And our kids were like, what do you mean? Like, it's spring semester. It started, you know? So, yeah, it's long. I think Coach Freeman does a great job of keeping the guys fresh, changing the message, changing the dress for practice. All of those things I think are important. Keep, new challenges. And I think it's uncharted waters, whether it's Ohio State, us, whoever it is. But you can learn a lot. You can glean a lot from this. And I know our program moving forward is going to learn so much from this. There's going to be how many guys on this team next year that are going to be able to go and pack their bags and go to New Orleans, or pack their bags and go to, Pasadena, or pack their bags and go to, wherever it is, and learn how to do it and play with poise and stay focused and block out the noise. So, but it has been long. I think as a staff, we came back July 21st, and we've been in camp for a long time. So it's been an interesting year.
Just a quick going back to Jack. I mean, he's a 4.0 GPA and accounting. What's that like? What does that say about him? Or does he help you guys with their taxes or anything? Or
He does. Yeah, I remember, I think it was it last spring or my first spring, he was doing like tax clinics, at his house. So he'd have a bunch of guys over and just, it's I think since then we've moved it kind of in-house, and we have great with Amir and those guys that they do a great job with all that. But before that was in place and the NIL was coming up, Jack did a great job of getting the guys together and say, this is what you have to do, and this is where you should be saving and investing and doing those things. And he's a smart guy. He's a fun guy to talk to on game day. He could solve problems. He asks questions, and he's a great human being. Yeah. I think you're right. I think Coach Freeman does an unbelievable job of measuring their load. I'm talking scientifically, sports science, measuring the load, measuring the number of collisions, and then plotting a course. Our game week going into Georgia was dramatically different than our game week going into Penn State, and this one's different than the Penn State week. So they're all different, but at the same time, just changing it up, keeping it fresh, and challenging the guys, because that's what they want. If we have to keep elevating, we have to keep performing at a high level. We have to be better today than we were yesterday. Otherwise, it's going to catch up to you.
Obviously, it's very difficult to game plan with defense with Jeremiah Smith and the number one receiver. But when you've got secondary weapons that they've got, Cardell Tate, Emeka Egbuka, Scott, how difficult has that been to game plan for you guys?
Well, it's hard. I think as I said earlier, the confluence of those guys with how Will is playing is what's made them, so proficient, during the postseason. And it's a tough challenge. There's very few teams out there that have weapons, at all three spots, and then the two running backs and the tight end. So they present a lot of different challenges, and our job is to manage, what direction that they go and how we adjust on game day and adapt. I'm not feeling so good, yeah.
Appreciate it, Coach. I got defense coordinator out over here. Coach, I
wanted to ask you about putting pressure on quarterbacks. Obviously, you pressured me when I was at Florida State.
That didn't work so well.
Yeah, but as far as getting Will Howard off his spot and slowing up his timing a little bit, how you go about trying to do that early in the game?
Yeah, I think you have to. I think you can't let anybody be comfortable back there, and whether that's generating 4, 5, or 6-man pressures, however it manifests, we just have to find a way to not let him be comfortable. And to be honest with you, we need, when it's time to rush the passer, we need to have a good pass rush. We need to win. So, but that is definitely an underlying challenge in the game.
When an offense has so many different receivers, Coach, that it can be Buka's day, it can be Carnell Tate's day, it can be Jeremiah Smith's day. What's that challenge like with your defensive back room to make sure everybody's tight on their P's and Q's, making sure they don't give up anything big?
Yeah, I think part of it is just understanding that we're at the point in the season where guys are going to make some plays, and you have to adjust and adapt. And where are they going? Where do they want to go with the ball? And who's that guy? Who's the hot hand right now? Okay, do we have to take him away? All right, and what will their answer be? But just enjoy the competition, enjoy the battle, and just know that it's not going to be perfect. They're going to make plays. We got to make more plays than them and try to attack the football.
What's been the biggest key? Because I think this doesn't get talked about enough. You guys won 13 games in a row to get to this point. I mean, your team's used to winning. So what's been the biggest key to keep that track going and obviously ended out with a championship on Monday?
Coach Freeman. Clearly, Coach Freeman, his leadership, not letting us forget how we lost focus in week 2, and just staying humble and hungry and continuing to elevate, continuing to improve every day, and not listening to the outside. And that siren got us one time. That siren got us. It got in our building, and it stung us. And don't let go of that. Don't let go of that. Just be humble, hungry, prepare, be the best version of yourself. Understand that we do things collectively for team glory, and we're not here if it's not for all 3 phases.
Keep that edge going.
Thank you. Great to see you. God bless you. Congrats for all your success, too. Yeah. Well, probably last spring when I told the guys in defense that just block off December 20th because we're going to host. Now, I don't know if we ended up hosting on the 20th or the 21st, but I can't remember. But that was, that was our mindset. Now, Hollywood wrote the script. You know what I mean? I didn't quite see it happening that way, but we did have confidence that we had the type of team that could get in the tournament and do what we're doing. And I think the greatest thing that I just think about how awesome this is. I was looking at the teams that just think about how awesome this is. The teams that Ohio State has beaten or played this year, and could you ever imagine Notre Dame? In a single year, you beat Texas A&M, you beat Louisville, you beat Florida State, you beat USC and Southern Cal. You play Indiana in a playoff game. You beat Georgia. You beat Penn State. That's what has been created in college football right now, and it's been awesome. So, no, this was the goal. This will remain the goal at Notre Dame because we have the leadership, and not just in Coach Freeman, but systematically and just cultural alignment from our president on down to be in this fight every year.
Last question over here. Joe was constantly on the broadcast defense, one of the most important parts of the game. We say it wins championships all the time, but against Penn State, you guys called it 35 seconds left. Is that a result of what you draw and practice every day in practice?
Well, I can't say too much, but I think it was a residual of a lot of guys being locked in, and when we do our 2-minute presentation of saying, okay, guys, now look, when they have this and this into the boundary, expect this to the field. And I think Christian did an amazing job of understanding that and bringing that to life. And that's our job as coaches, is to put guys in the right position. But what their jobs are as players is to receive information, kind of become empowered, and then trust it, execute it on game day. And that's where you can't place the value on guys like Christian Gray and how much they care. Thank you. All right, guys.